Andy Draper. Welcome to the show. Today I have a guest with me that I want to introduce properly, so I wrote it down. So I'm going to read this introduction today. As mandates lift on the world, as we begin to resemble something we like to recognize as normal, and the aftermath of the last couple of years passes, great challenges, doubts, and insecurities are there, some anger, and in places, sparks of hope, a chance for opportunity and change, and places to find stability and support. In these ever-changing, turbulent times, every once in a while, we meet individuals, people, who show us that luck in that way. They have a positive glow and show us there's opportunity for a brighter future. My guests today are two such individuals. Welcome to the show. I have Miss Christina Thomas, Mr. Phellep Snow. Christina, how are you today? And welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone. I am so blessed to be here today. So much has happened in these turbulent times as well. I don't think anyone has not been affected. As you know, working through the community, especially with my tag team over here, we do a lot of different things throughout this community for veterans and families, and honestly, anybody that we see in need. It is, I think it's a calling, it's a place of greatness. Being the chair to something that is bigger than me, working with organizations in this community that are large enough nationally to reach across the world and help not just veterans, but those who helped veterans. We're associated with those organizations. It's bigger than us. And whatever that takes to touch it, feel it, endure it, and help that person, that's what we're willing to do.
Okay, Christina, so for those who don't know you, what is the organization that you're affiliated with? Can you tell us a little bit about that, and we'll talk to you next.
Okay. I am the chair to Southern Nevada Veterans Advocacy Council through mental health that's congressionally mandated to make sure that veterans and families are receiving the resources needed. And if not, all of that goes directly to the administration. Now, during the 2020 time, and as you said, the turbulence, we had to change gears. You change with time because guess what? What worked in 1950 ain't gonna work today. And when all of that was written was early 2000s. Well, we got to do something different, which means that our veterans, you now have OEF, OIF, veterans from Vietnam vets to World War II, Korean War. You have all of these different generational traumas that must be looked at individually and generational and individual person. Understanding and being culturally competent, understanding and being emotionally intelligent, and then being able to pick up and take a call, whether it's from the Philippines, a veteran that has decided to go there to retreat and live his life after the military, or whether it's someone that's in California that's trying to transfer over. They want resources. So what ended up happening was we had a board, which we also had the VA liaisons, Phellep, vet centers, partners, from one end to the other. I wanted community. Why? Because I'm a farm-raised girl, and I'm going to tell you like this. When it's survival time and you want to go back to times, the only thing that keeps us together is community. And we've broken that. And that's why we're in this mess. Because if my corn is rotten and you got an abundance, why can't you share with me? Is it your greed? Is it your ego? Why won't you feed your neighbor? That's what I'm trying to change. I grew up knowing that it takes a community to build in good, bad, indifferent. And it has to be unconditional, whether I grew up with the conditions that I did, Lord help me. But the fact of the matter is I brought all of that forward to this community We made it. I'm on the governor's challenge, the mayor's challenge, and I am also on all Hope Means Nevada committee, Hope Link for homelessness, now going with Congressman Horsford's office and trying to figure out what we can do with our housing crisis here. I work also for Clark County School District as a youth mentor, giving them videos, as well as being a mom.
Very impressive. All of those are difficult, right? All of them are difficult and take a lot. So it takes a very special kind of individual to do each one of those.
Yes.
Much less all of those.
Yes.
So what I kind of heard you saying to everybody
Absolutely.
is that we need to come together and help each other regardless of our situation or our station.
Absolutely.
We need to pay attention to other people
With emotional
and to
intelligence.
move forward with them as one, making things better for everybody.
Non-judgmentally, with emotional intelligence to know that I have passionately decided that I am going through this. I'm emotional. But I am not in this world alone, and I must also consider that you're going through something too, Andy. And so I don't get
the key.
That is the key.
Is for you to know where you are as you deal with other people and not project that onto them. Is that what you're telling me?
I think that's exactly the perfect
Phellep,
definition.
how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are, what you do, what your passions are, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's happening out in the community.
Okay. Sure. So, Phellep Snow, and I am a Veterans Outreach Program Specialist with the Henderson Vet Center, part of Veterans Affairs. I've been serving in this capacity for about 9.5 years, let's just say 10 years to make it a good even number. But with that, involved with a lot of activities for us at the vet centers. We work to assist our military and veteran community through establishing connection and camaraderie to resources, aiding with a lot of different things, including but not limited to counseling, outreach, and referral. And I tell people just a lot of times it's about putting forth your best effort and helping those that may not know who or what is involved with the particular action. And sometimes whereas it's kind of maybe say borrowing from some of what you were saying, Chris, is where you can be a savior for your neighbor and just helping out, being that aid in a moment of struggle or just being a sounding board. But for us, it's a lot of great things that we do. And I can talk about it a bit more later if needed, but that's kind of the short and sweet of who I am, my organization, and what we do.
Okay, so both of you kind of put forward the being a good neighbor piece. And part of that being a good neighbor, I think, is doesn't take a lot out of us. Just take the time sometimes to recognize that somebody's there, because when people feel invisible, that's when things don't go well for them. And just being able to say hi to somebody instead of just walking by is sometimes the best medicine that they can have in the moment. Are you feeling that also?
Yes, just where I feel that a lot of us, when it comes to our life in the armed forces and that transition point, that we have a well-established community when we're in uniform, when we are engaged with our service community, but it can be something as simple as a relocation or a career change, that all of that changes, it goes away, and having someone to at least, as you mentioned, just to give that hello, to be some source of human connection can make a world of difference. And so that's one of the great things, and I even try to make it a point in my personal affairs that if I'm passing by someone, take a moment, say hi, give a compliment, because you don't know where that person may be in their day, and it could be the factor that maybe deters them from making a very bad choice that could have long-standing effects?
Okay, both of you talked about helping people get places, and what I'm hearing out of that is resources, and the community aspect. As we all know, we can't do it alone. So what kind of, if I was out in the community, whether I'm an individual or a business, whatever I am, tell me what I could do, how I can provide some assistance to people through your organizations that may need help.
Okay, so for us at the Vet Center, I tell people that you can always be a volunteer going through the background check and the onboarding process that usually occurs at the VA hospital, that we can you can contribute that way. If you wish to donate items, that is an option. And for us, I tell people, come to us. We'll give you the tax write-off form, but also aiding our community partners, because there are so many different entities out there that are helping veterans. And let's just say that if there is, as we mentioned with the Advocacy Council, if there is someone that wishes to help veterans out with a event or a similar activity, giving them that connection. But yes, either way, I would say if you have a desire to give, reach out to us. I could always give details on the process, and where they can reach out to us and find our vet center at vetcenter.va.gov and use the locator tool to enter your zip code. It will show us as being close by, or just entering Henderson or Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
Get that info and follow up with us for details.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that a little bit later, but I want Chris to have a chance to say something here. I know that you also provide really life-changing and life-saving resources to people, and I want to know how the community can help you, what you're looking for, what kind of things are you asking for, what's scarce out there that we really need, and then what is it that helps from your experience.
Wow, that was a lot. Okay. It's been so much these last 2 years. It's been so much. We have had organizations literally leave us due to economic situations. Nonprofit organizations go off of funding, gifts, fundraisers, things like that. The council is only mandated to make sure that people get mental health through the mental health clinic there, and connect with the community partners, which I also forgot to mention. I'm a speaker for Southern Nevada, NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness. Very, very involved with them. Trendang is the executive director, so if you need any type of assistance outside, that's something as a community partner that I would be able to say. If you come to me and say that there's housing, I'm going to go to the city. If the city talks to me, or I get a letter down from a governor's office and say this is a message. Why are they sending me messages outside of mental health situations? Why? Because housing, working, being able to stand on 2 feet, not knowing where I'm at and how to get resources, benefits and claims. None of these are our lane, but what is our lane is these people are calling us completely mentally in illness. My actual occupation is a spiritual teacher, and I coach and counsel. I spend most of my time coaching and counseling these people into happiness and hope, and giving back life with them writing down what you will do, because I'm advocacy. I am not here to do the work for you. I am here to give you the resources, the names, the numbers, and the addresses to where you need to take within your hands from my community partners and networks and go find your life. Period.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, so even though you're dealing with mental health and behavioral health,
Absolutely.
there is a piece to that needs to be put out there, and that is Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Thank
because
you.
If you're, and sorry for using the terminology on you, but without those things, shelter, security, food, being taken care of, nothing else is important.
Stigmas.
Yeah, you can't get to anything, and we can address stigma in a minute, until you're comfortable in the space you're in. So if I'm worried about what I'm going to eat,
How
if
you're
I'm
going
going
to
to
eat.
eat at all, or if I'm going to have a roof over my head, or they come to kick me out, then you're not going to be able to talk to me about my attitude.
Yeah.
Nope.
And if you don't mind, I would
Go
just add to that, where I feel it sometimes can become a vicious cycle.
Yes.
Because when we talk about that hierarchy of needs, and where you mentioned safety, that for some people, if you're trying to get them in a stable environment or to get them mentally stabilized to engage in the healing process, when it comes to safety, I think that knowing you won't have a risk of fallout or latent consequences for reaching out for help. And for a lot of veterans, I think that is one of the biggest things, that thinking if you don't, or if you go talk with someone about your mental health needs, that it may come back to haunt you later.
So that sounds kind of like the stigma that Chris was bringing up. But before
Well,
we go
we
there,
see a lot of, that's a lot of us.
Before we go to that, there's a piece that you brought up about safety, about fallout that comes back to you. I think a lot of us think that there's some way out situation, or somebody is so different in their behaviors, in their actions, in their thinking, that I can recognize them right off. When the fact is that a lot of people who are going through things are in what seem on their surface to be perfect, stable things. I'm stable in my house, but I'm not safe there, but you don't know that. Or I need to have some stuff happening and I'm on edge all the time to be here. But nobody sees that because we are perfect at putting that facade forward that everything is okay. And that's the piece. How do I ask for assistance? Is it going to be private? Is it going to come back to me? And I think people need to know, is your organization's anonymity secure? If I talk to you, is it going to be okay for me to come in and say, okay, this is going on with me, and know that the person I said that to is the only person that's going to hear that, and then they can offer some kind of resources for me to get out of that. And that's why I keep going to resources. That's why I keep talking about, what do you need? Chris was talking about, okay, we do this, but people are coming with all this stuff, right? And I can't get to the things that I do until they handle this stuff. So I need needs. Right. So I need to have these resources, some kind of list, some kind of booklet of resources that when they say something, I can say, try this or try that. And then once you're finished with them, get back to me, let me know, so we can get to the real problems. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the piece that we should be reaching out to the community to say and ask, what can you provide in all situations? Is there something that you are doing or your organization is doing to help this community?
Yep. And I will tell you, that really, I guess you could say, hits home for me.
And me.
Because growing up where definitely went through a lot of tough times. And it's one of those things where for, I guess, say, people that have a need for assistance, and in this instance, I will go with public assistance, but kind of, I say, segue into my ultimate point. When you are observed, let's just say back in the day when they had paper food stamps.
And the cheese line.
Yes.
Are we going back there?
Yes,
Government
we're going
cheese.
back.
We're going back.
We're hopping in a time
yes,
machine.
We're going to hop. Cheese line. Food stamps.
But with that, where if people saw you using that, it was almost, I guess, a status symbol in a less than glorious way, where people saw you and they're like, "Oh, you're broke. Your family's broke." And so it was, I guess you could say, a point of shame.
Well, let's call it what it is. It's stigma.
Yes.
It's shame.
It's people looking down on you, creating that and projecting that stigma
inferiority
upon
you. And so that's definitely is something where it gave me comfort in knowing with organizations such as the Vet Center and many of our community partners that we have that ongoing agreement that when we address a veteran's needs, it doesn't just have to be counseling. That if someone comes to us for food insecurity or employment assistance, either way, addressing those basic needs, that anything that is discussed at our facility stays at that particular facility. We don't even share it to other facilities within our network, because once again, we know that if you have even the slightest notion that there can be shame from you asking for help, then you're not going to express that need.
I'm not going to ask for it.
You're just going to go and struggle, and you may spend like your dang days and weeks living off of whatever you can scrounge without other people knowing.
So at that place where you understand how to survive the way you are surviving, no matter how uncomfortable it is, I'm surviving. I know how to do this. So there is a fear of what you don't know, and that's the change piece, and that's the change agent that I see in you two, to help people to get past that fear of trying something new, asking for help, and knowing that it's going to be okay if I do this.
Yes.
May I interject for a moment?
Yes, you may.
Even in my position, and we'll get to it, stigma. Even in my position, because we are a peer-ran organization that has went through the mental health clinic, through the VA PTSD program. I did 10 years of that. The VA programs through the mental health, behavior health system is where our power to make sure that if you're getting appointments there in the mental health clinic, that we're able to get you where you're at. Where your Maslow needs aren't there, I got to do something about that. I'm a human being. And I got a lot of great friends. Ed is my great friend, and so is Phellep. I literally have went through one of the hardest times of my life recently. And I had the hardest time thinking, how am I supposed to ask for help? I can't ask for help. That's weak. I'm the head. I can't let them know that we have so much work to do. We have so much work to do. I can't do this. I got so much on my plate. I ain't got time for this. I'm a hot mess. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do know what to do. I've been through 10 years of training. The first thing is acknowledging you're not okay. The second thing is knowing I'm worth making this phone call. Even if I hang up the first time, I'm going to do it again and again. I call Phellep at the vet center. Why? Because that's where I refer a lot of my vets that don't want to go to the VA. He's non-judgmental, despite being on the council's partnership. He is going to be my brother. He is going to be my community. He is going to know that I can share whatever it is, and in confidence. Later in life, he's going to be there for me without that judgment of what I said, and I can verify that in my experience as someone in that. Not because of my position, but because the situation's that bad. He still looked at me and said, let's think about it this way. He didn't go, wait a minute, what is this behavior? He said, are you safe? What do you need? Where can I be? Can we do anything? I want to hug you if I can hug you. Like, let me be here for you. That's all I need to say about knowing it's okay to stand. Just stand up.
So regardless of, even with, I'm not going to say regardless of, I'm going to say even with the fear we encounter in reaching out for assistance for somebody, personal stories of people like yourself, even myself, Phellep, say it's well worth the effort to do it. I heard you say, just start thinking about it. You don't have to do it today. Just take a little bit of a step toward that, and you will get to that better place that you're trying to reach. And there are people out there to help you get there comfortably. Okay? I'm still fishing. I'm fishing.
Okay.
For what resources people can provide to you. So if I'm talking to communities and the communities listen to this and they're going, man, I like what you guys are doing. How can I help? What has been most forward in these recent times that people are asking for? Like you're saying, they're asking me for everything, but I do this. But I want to get them to those needs that need to be addressed. What are some of those? What can people do? Is it like rental assistance? Is it just tickets to events because they're stuck in the house and this event's happening and maybe we'll have something like that? Is it some kind of pro bono legal assistance? Is it dental? I'm not going out. I'm already in bad shape, and over the last 2 years, my teeth were falling out.
He's like calling every single one of my calls this week, or two.
I would tell you that. My apologies. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I needed you.
So, for us at the Vet Center, we are part of Veterans Affairs. So, being a government entity, I guess you could say there is a strict amount of guidelines or limitations in what we can take on as direct contributions and solicitations. So with that being said, and for my desire to remain employed, for anybody out there watching, I do want another paycheck. I want to stay along. So go
ahead.
And that's where the council comes in, because we're peer mandated and we can go out there and we can talk to the community because that's what we're congressionally mandated to do. Yeah. Nobody said anything about the mass law needs because, once again, this wasn't written for this time. Nobody was ready for this. So you call me, my kid's ready to jump off the house. Guess what? I know a very special psychiatrist, community family partner that works with Southern Nevada NAMI. Let me give him a call. Why am I calling Southern Nevada NAMI? Because they have some other resources. I'm also going to give you Hope Means Nevada. Who's Hope Means Nevada? They are a nonprofit organization that focuses on teen suicide. Guess what they have? All the way down from senators to groundbreaking high schoolers out there knocking, waiting, telling everybody about mental health, because Nevada is the #1 for mental health deaths for teens from 8 to 19. We are leading the way and our children dying. So I will not allow someone to call me and say, I don't know what to do and the VA doesn't offer services for my child.
Yeah, and if I could add one other thing.
Go ahead.
Where you mentioned with people, how they can help us, how they can contribute to the effort. I would say empower us by contributing to our community partners. We have entities such as Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, Forgotten Not Gone, Branded One CrossFit, Emerging Vets and Players. The list goes on and on.
Wounded Warriors.
Wounded Warrior Project.
Yes.
Where if
CBA,
you contribute to
MVP.
these veteran service organizations, they are our partners.
Yes, they
are. And you let them know that I wish to contribute to donate, but I would like to see this given for rental assistance, Veterans Life Services, just being able to give that info out and help build their organizations to empower them, because our relationships are a force multiplier in what we can do for veterans. So when you talk about a veteran that has a need for rental assistance, if that person comes and they talk to me and they tell me what they may need, where once again, I may be limited in my role as a VA employee of what I can give to them directly. But if I know of these organizations that have these programs going, I can give a confidential referral to them and work to establish that warm handoff so that I am able to tell them I have veteran A that needs this particular service, and can we get them into you? And a lot of times the first steps can be established over the phone to where that veteran comes in a day or two later and everything's lined up, ready to go, and they're getting connected to their solutions in a prompt fashion.
Okay, so I'm going to change gears for all of us right here.
Okay.
Part of that, Chris kind of alluded to it in some of the statistics she was given, but first, it's correct for me to understand that VA can't do it all, right? There are people who aren't qualified and stuff like that. There are certain things like that you were saying that they have to meet. But there's another aspect that has to be addressed when we're talking about individuals, and that's their families. We have to address the needs of the family, because if my family's doing bad, I'm doing bad. So maybe some of that community resource could be those resources for teens, those resources for spouses, those events that are for our family events that aren't focused on just the individual, but that support system around the individual, right? So what does that look like? What do you envision that looking like from your perspective as Phellep and from your perspective as Chris? What do you envision that looking like?
Do you mind if I take the lead on this one, Chris? So when we talk about family services, that is one of the hallmarks of vet centers and how we are able to aid in that readjustment need, helping through those transitions in one's life, so that we are able to provide our counseling services as well as our outreach and referral engagements to not only the service member or the veteran, but for their family as well. And because we realize that we need to ensure that our clients are going back into a healthy environment where they may spend 1 week, or 1 hour of counseling with us, but if we put them back into, I guess you could say, a unhealthy environment, then the efforts are in vain. So
Okay.
that's where we have with that. But one other thing that I wanted to point out is that we do have some recreational therapy engagements coming up. One of those being a bowling and resource fair night that we will have the entire family unit come to sit down with us, and they can be able to receive a meal. They can engage with those same community partners and others that I mentioned to get connected to resources to find out who does what in that comfortable environment and further engage while they are in a round of bowling. So
Okay.
it's things like that
So-
where we work to make a difference.
Okay, so Chris, you mentioned NAMI. I'm very familiar with them, and I'm very familiar that they are the largest grassroots organization in this country.
Yes, they are.
And that,
Proud to be a part of it.
and I am also aware that life happens in the community, right? That's where your life is. It's about re-engaging into the community. How do I get involved with what's going on in my community that I like to do? And there are a lot of resources out there that do that. Can you share some of that with us?
Wow. Concerned Veterans of America are for education as well as legislation. I'm going to bring that up first, and I'm going to tell you why. Our emergency number that we now have nationally, 988. That was a bill that needed to get voted on.
So there's 3 digits you can call for assistance now.
Absolutely.
Okay. 988.
I
Okay.
believe so. And we also did, NAMI is bigger than just groups, education. I go out and I speak about living experience, teaching police officers how to approach the mentally ill.
What's that called?
Um,
Crisis intervention? Is that part of crisis intervention training?
Yes, you do have to get trained through NAMI, and this is sharing your story with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And because I am a recovery peer and victorious person that has went through several psychosocial, situations and been in recovery, I have been able to share a lot of those stories, goods and bads, for NAMI to use in their advantage. And so being able to discuss minority mental health, being able to discuss we had the Raiders, Solomon Thomas come on, and he has an organization for suicide. So there's one. He also partnered with Hope Means Nevada. His dad is Chris Thomas. So bouncing back, Trin and I, executive director, we are partners with Hope Means Nevada, who also now is legislatively, as well as NAMI, making the bills necessary for mental health. I can't do anything if the law prohibits me from doing something or completing something for the patient or the person that's going through psychosis. A lot of people, a lot of changes have come from great programs out of Arizona being great pillars to look at as examples. So with NAMI, I also go out and I sit with the kids before their coach, before they go to college. And so with that, we were trained through the Center of Mind Body Medicine, who is partnered with UNLV, Dr. Annie Wiseman. And so we have this training that we have went through with Dr. Gordon, and that is through Mind Body Medicine with biofeedback, genealogy, mindfulness eating. All of these different things are applied into NAMI in different ways as we continue to grow through these different organizations and learning these things. So when I go out and talk to law enforcement, children, or a group of families that may not understand the physicality and the mental capacity of what's going on with veterans, you have to understand not all veterans deploy, but that didn't mean they weren't traumatized. They have things that are going on, and they're human beings. All the things that are different with us is we went to sign our life away. That's what is the difference between us. You live in that community, you pay taxes, you pay bills. The government pays you for messing me up and to get better. And so for me, I understand I am a civilian that happens to have served this country for the betterment of what I was looking for. So I look at these families who are civilians, teens who are going through the mental health war outside of the mine into the house, safe or not, and I can speak for this for my home. Psychosis can happen. Does not mean the family is unsafe all the time, but that person is going through their healing. And that family, if they are uneducated, they can't be emotionally intelligent, compassionate, understanding, responsive, and with a plan to give them the best mental health care possible without having something terrible happen. And then that's why I'm talking to the police officers, because now we have more people getting killed because they don't have the understanding that person's mentally ill. He's really not there. He's there. Yes, I understand. We can put that face on. He's there to you, but he's not there to everyone that knows him. So please don't shoot him. Please give me a minute. And so now we have actual, new things with psychiatrists coming out with the police officers. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have that same problem, because now we have the clinicians coming and saying, wait a minute, that's mental illness. He's not a threat.
Let me get to this point first. That is something that's new and, like you were saying, legislative, that has to have the support of the community.
It has to.
So now that you know, you can't say that you don't know. Another thing that needs to happen, that we can't just sit and listen, because you can sit and listen to what we're saying. It takes finances, and it takes action and conversation for these things to happen. So that's how you can contribute, by helping organizations like NAMI and their partners,
congressmen,
through your and your legislators,
absolutely,
through your donation, whether it's $1 or
50 cents,
however much
I don't care how much it is.
That helps. And then the trainings that are available and for families to understand, because families don't understand if they're not going through it, and they see it from this stigmatizing, and I'm going to use this term, this implicit bias perspective, where this is what we've learned about crazy Uncle Joe.
Ooh, he said crazy Uncle Joe. He did not go there with crazy Uncle Joe.
They didn't tell you what was really going on with him.
No, he did not.
They just labeled him. So you need to be educated and understand what's happening with people, and don't let other people project that stigma onto you, into your mind, and onto other people. You need to learn, explore, educate yourself, make a decision for yourself what's going on. Okay, I needed to say that.
Yeah.
Phellep, go ahead.
So two things that I would want to add, where you inspired another thought. With contributions to our, community service entities, nonprofits, I think it often goes undervalued how much volunteering or in-kind donations can be of value to these organizations, because a lot of times you only have a committed few that are doing the work of many. So not only are they engaging with the face-to-face interactions, but they're involved with the administrative paperwork to make sure that they remain compliant with the IRS, to get all of the logistics in order, to make sure that things are in place at the right time. And when there are those who are willing to come and say that I will drive these items to this place for your event for you, so that you don't have to worry about doing that and making the phone calls and talking with the veteran, just walk through your door. That one task that you took off their plate can be a big difference maker for them. So that's one of the things. And even for some of the for-profit entities, if they will tell them that I will take care of your PC update services, or for your maintenance.
PC mean?
Personal computer.
Okay.
So
acronyms need to be.
Yes.
So we understand what you're talking about.
To help out with that, because once again, not only are there a committed few, but there are limited dollars. But being able to say that I will donate this time and service for you, and it comes back to help them as well, because it is a write-off in their taxes.
Okay.
So that's the first thing.
Okay, we're getting close to our time, but so I want to touch on another area.
Okay.
And give us a few minutes to think about that
If you
area.
could,
So
this
let
last
me
one
touch on this
okay.
area. So the community organizations are really valuable to us as we think about how we're going to help the elderly in our community, our parents, our grandparents. I know dementia is something that happens as age happens and things of that nature. And I also know that NAMI has went out because people called because my dad is missing, he's got dementia, and I have no idea where he's at. And they got their people to go look for people like that. So it's a safety net to have those community organizations as we age, and we're going to get there. So we need to think about that in a realistic, helpful way before we get there. So we can put things in place and understand that that's out there and assist those organizations that are out there making efforts like that in hopes that if I ever need it, they'll be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I needed to touch on that before we're finished here because we haven't went there, and that's really important. It's happening at younger and younger ages. People are having these symptoms, and it could be what we've gone through lately, the loneliness and the isolation and things like that, where we don't have that human interaction, and we're just going places that we in the past wouldn't have went, so we have to prepare for the future.
Yes.
So do you have something to say about that?
Well, yeah, and that, I look at where it kind of works with the connection that we have to our eras, our veterans from prior eras. That as they have their needs related to aging, that we are able to get them connected to resources that can help in regards to something that may be just connected to geriatrics care line, but also with the, I guess you could say, senior services and activities for them. And unfortunately, a lot of them are being overlooked because when we think of veteran, we see in many instances a lot of entities gearing toward post 9/11. But I would have to say that we most certainly must give consideration for our Vietnam era veterans and those of prior.
Right.
And one of the things that I just want to touch on before
By
I turn
the
it
way,
over-
all the World War II vets are not gone. Please stop saying the World War II vets are all gone. We
Okay.
still have some.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we're going to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes.
Sorry.
So 15 seconds.
Yeah, just want to say, when we talked about our law enforcement, that we have many of them that see the worst, have served as veterans, and even with our Vietnam era veterans, a lot of them went into law enforcement, and having vet centers as a resource for them was a career saver. So this is something that I wanted to point out, that when we talk about our first responders and even many others, that we keep them in mind, that they have needs as well. But
Okay.
with consideration of time, I'll stop there.
Chris?
I mentioned something about housing, and I'm going to go there. I had originally, but because of all of the things and other things that was going on in my life, I had went and gotten on the board, still on the advisory board of HopeLink because of the housing. There's a housing crisis that is here in Nevada, and so because there's so much powerless, we have more people here that own homes that are not from here, and a full gentrification that's happening from California to here due to inflation. So that means that the Nevadans that are here are not capable with, at the level, I believe, 60,000 plus, to be able to survive at just a little bit of affordable housing, and that's if they qualify. So in order for me to help them, yes, I can give them HopeLink, and we have this homelessness that's going on, and we know this collapse is happening. How can I help? Well, guess what? I went to my legislator and said, how can I help? What do I need to do? I'm working with the city, the state, and the governor, and I can't get seniors, and I can't get anyone any housing, and I'm getting these phone calls, and it's desperately killing me because I cannot help them. There's no housing. There's no, and they won't meet the criteria. So what do I need to do? Laws. So I've switched gears in 2022. my efforts was to talk to one of the congressmen, bipartisan, say, can I have some lobbying to do for housing that is going on, that is on the agenda for, I believe, bipartisan across the board when it comes to housing and all of this and infrastructure. So what I feel like, and I'm not saying that for any other reason than we have to get more housing for our veterans. That's a Maslow need, and that is one of the most major needs that I get phone calls for. So mine is now, let me do something legislatively and educated academically to help these people when it comes to housing. That's a need.
Okay, thank you. That was our last word. Thank you, Mr. Snow, Ms. Thomas, Christina, Phellep, for being here, and thank you for watching this. You've heard a lot of information put out here today. I just hope that you can find the time, the space, make the effort to assist where assistance is so desperately needed. Thank you for being here today.